Annie and Snowball and the Thankful Friends by Cynthia Rylant. A big table. It was almost time for Thanksgiving. Annie loved Thanksgiving. This year she wanted to have a big dinner in her new neighborhood. Her cousin Henry lived next door, and Annie knew that his family would come for dinner at her house. But who else could Annie and her dad invite? Annie didn't have any brothers or sisters. She didn't have a big family of her own. But there was a big table in her house, and she wanted lots of people around it. Who could she invite for Thanksgiving? Good ideas. Annie counted the dining room chairs. Then she and her bunny Snowball went next door to visit Henry. Henry was playing cards with his big dog Mudge. Mudge was winning because he was drooling on the cards. Henry didn't want drooly cards, so Mudge got to keep the drooly ones. Mudge had a lot of cards. Annie sat next to Henry. "We have room for 5 more people for Thanksgiving dinner," she told Henry. "Great," said Henry. "But I don't know anyone else to invite," said Annie. Said Henry. Henry always had good ideas about dogs, but he wasn't sure he had good ideas about dinners. "Does your grandmother have any old friends?" asked Henry. "That's a great idea," said Annie. "We can invite her 2 best friends." "And what about the postman, Mr. Bell?" said Henry. "His family lives in Alaska." "You're right," said Annie. "Maybe he'd like to have dinner with us." "And maybe Miss Chan," said Henry. "Of course," said Annie. Miss Chan taught 1st grade at their school. She was from China. Her family was far away, too. "Great," said Henry. "That's 4. But didn't you say you have 5 extra chairs?" "Yes," said Annie. "But I can't think of anyone else to invite." Said Henry. "Maybe someone else will just show up." Pretty cards. Annie asked her dad if she could invite more people for Thanksgiving dinner. He said, "Sure." So she made little cards. She gave 2 to her grandmother, 1 to Mr. Bell, and 1 to Miss Chan. The cards had sparkly orange glitter on them and pictures of fall leaves and many hearts. "Please join us for Thanksgiving," the cards said. Annie hoped everyone would. Thankful. On Thanksgiving Day, Annie was very excited. She dressed up in an orange corduroy jumper and orange tights and brown shiny shoes. "I want to look pumpkin-y," Annie told her dad. Snowball looked pumpkin-y too. She was wearing a sparkly orange bow. Annie set the table while her dad cooked the dinner. Annie brought out all her favorite teapots and teacups. She made place cards and set them in little pine cones. She gathered fall leaves in a big basket for the table. It all looked beautiful. Then everyone arrived. Grandmother's friends met Snowball and Mudge. Mr. Bell met Miss Chan. Everyone new met everyone old. Then they all sat down to eat. Annie said the blessing. "We give thanks for good food and good family and good friends. We give thanks for snowy bunnies and drooly dogs. We give thanks for everything." Then her dad carved the turkey, and they all had a wonderful dinner. And just as they were finishing up, who walked through the front door? "Aunt Sally!" said Annie and Henry. She was a surprise. She had flown all the way from California. and she had crackers and carrots in her pockets. Annie's dad pulled the 11th chair to the table. "I am thankful you haven't eaten everything," said Aunt Sally. Then they all had a second helping as Thanksgiving dinner started all over again.